This is April Setti on New Jersey Buzz Talk Radio, and we are so excited about our new format. Buzzy B and I are buzzing around the community and getting up close and personal with our guests. Today, we are in Princeton, New Jersey at a very cool place called Hunter Farm, and they do a lot of really interesting things that we're going to get into, and by the name of it, you wouldn't know what they really do. It's one of the most prestigious equestrian centers in New Jersey. And we're here on the farm today talking with Andrew Philbrick, owner, and he's going to give us the buzz about Hunter Farm and a really cool show coming up. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So Hunter Farm has been around for 35 years. And, you look really young to have a business for 35 years, but yet this is your baby. So tell us how you got started.
Well, I was a rider as a kid, competitive rider in college, and I came to New Jersey, actually, and found a bankrupt facility and somehow managed to move in there, and I've never left, and we built it from there.
Now, the name Hunter has a little story behind it.
Well, most people think Hunter, there's really two kinds of jumping horses in the competition. There's jumpers and there's hunters, so most people think that Hunter Farms is about Hunter, but it's actually my grandmother's name and my middle name, Hunter Farms, and it was a natural to name it after her.
And it's a family business, that's why. We love family businesses. Now, I would have to say, because we actually just did a show with the military, and the first thing that popped into my mind when I was on your website looking at all of your credentials is that if you were in the military, you'd be highly decorated. You've done a lot of things. Obviously, you've been writing forever. So tell our listeners some of the things that you've done with your career.
Well, I was fortunate to have a really extensive writing career as a professional. I wrote for 30 years. I managed to make it onto the United States equestrian team, jump in the U.S. Olympic team trials, showing some of the top horse shows in Europe, up in Canada, down in Mexico. So I've been really fortunate to be able to compete as a rider on the team all over the world. And now as a coach, I coached at the World Equestrian Games a few years ago. And it's been a really great ride, and we've really had a lot of fun doing it.
I know. Now, we're here on the facility, and you have two of them. There's Hunter Farm, and then there's where you have your Princeton jumping show. So for people who aren't familiar with, your jumping competitions and what you do, explain it to them, because it's really very, I don't want to say complex, but there's a lot of detail to it.
Well, if you think about it, if you've seen on the Olympic program, you'll see horses jumping in competition in the Olympic Games. And all we do is preparation and progression up to that highest level. So these are competitions that are really national in scope. We get riders of all levels, people locally, all the way up to Olympic gold medalists come here to Princeton to compete. So this show is part of our national program to develop Olympic riders.
I was on your website, which is huntersfarm.us, and if you go on there, you work closely with the United States Equestrian Federation. In fact, you have designed some of the courses in past. Explain to our listeners who they are as an organization and how they impact this industry.
So the United States Equestrian Federation is the national governing body of the sport as directed by the United States Olympic Committee. So they're tasked with managing the sport from a rules perspective, from an enforcement perspective, from judging. All the specifics that are laid down for the competitions are managed by the United States Equestrian Federation, and all of our shows are licensed by the United States Equestrian Federation.
So that's a very important component when you have these types of shows, I would imagine.
Well, you wouldn't get the kind of Olympic level riders that we get at non-sanctioned shows. So all of the shows at Princeton Show Jumping are sanctioned by the national governing body.
Okay, so I have a question for you. My child decides that they're interested in getting involved in horse jumping competitions, but they've never ridden, they don't know anything about it, and being like any sport, nothing's inexpensive. You have to make an investment. But a horse isn't something you just put in your backyard. And if they decide they don't want to do it, now you have a horse. So what is the process for someone whose child is interested in this to get involved? Do you have any programs to kind of get a taste of it? Or?
So people ask me all the time when they see a horse jump in a Grand Prix and it jumps 6 foot, they always say, how did you ever get your horse to jump 6 foot? And I always say, start with 6 inches. So it's a progression. So riders, it's exactly the same thing. Local riding stables, like Hunter Farms, offer community riding programs. Kids come, start riding on ponies, taking lessons. If they get a passion for it, if their parents get a passion for it, some of those kids proceed on all the way up to the Olympic team. I mean, Jessica Springsteen is a perfect example, a New Jersey girl with a famous father. She started going to local shows, trotting over cross rails on ponies, and now she's a legitimate candidate for our Olympic team going to Rio.
That's great. Now, okay, so where do you get the horse from? I mean, do a lot of these riders own their horses, or?
At the basic level, riding stables own lesson horses. When you get past the basic competitive level, then it's time for you to either lease or buy your own horse. And that's a tough thing. It's a big commitment. But many people do it. We have a strong group in New Jersey locally here that love horse sports and compete all the time. And there's all kinds of stables to develop riders and take them to their first competitions.
Okay, so we decide we're going to be doing this, and my child, we buy the horse, but I live in the burbs, and I don't have a backyard that's fit for a horse. You guys provide boarding and all that?
We do. We are a boarding stable, so you can literally have a horse with us, have it in training, and if you have to go on a family vacation, we do all the work. So we do the riding when you're not there or your child's not able to come, and we maintain the horses. That's what most of the boarding, teaching, and training stables in New Jersey do.
So now, that was Hunter Farm. Now we also have the other location, which we're at. It's beautiful and state-of-the-art. And it is the Princeton Show Jumping Facility. And you also have an event coming up. But before we get into your event, because I hear it's coming up April 20th, I believe, tell our listeners what makes your facility so unique, because there's a lot of cool things going on here.
Well, this property, Princeton Show Jumping and Hunter Farms North, is a dream come true because we had a very small facility and developed a horse show over about 25 years. This facility is over 100 acres. It was a former sod farm. It has incredible vistas. You feel like you're way out in the country, even though you're 40 miles from Midtown Manhattan. This facility we are developing over time. We currently have state-of-the-art competition rings here and loads of room for people to ride and train.
We were out looking at the grounds. The tents are going up for the horses. We thought they were for the people, and Rich's like, nope, they're for the horses. Like, where's the people tent? That's being put up now. So there's something very unique about the soil where the horses compete in that you were telling us about. Our listeners definitely want to hear this one.
This is a special facility in that we have true full drainage competition rings that the highest level horses can compete on and want to compete on. It's a very complicated process to make sure that in absolutely any weather that you can jump and jump big jumps. And so the rings that we built here have been tested. The very first horse show we had 5 inches of rain before the first day, and many people thought that we'd be washed out because I believe that any other show facility in this area would have been washed out. But these rings are designed for that. They can take an intense amount of water, and they can allow horses to jump at their best at the highest levels of the sport.
What's in the soil? It looked like there was like recyclable, products.
Well, that's what you're referring to is GeoTextile, and the GeoTextile is a thread and fabric system that allows the sand to bind, and it also retains moisture. But the number one element to this footing is that there is 10 inches of clean rock drainage and piping under the ring, so that when you have an excess amount of water, rain, it goes through the footing and into the drainage system, so it allows you to compete in absolutely any weather. Riders don't mind riding in the rain, but they don't want to ride around when it's slippery or deep or muddy. And these rings never get muddy, they never get deep, they always remain firm and good for the horses.
So as they say, the show goes on. Just the people watching are like, okay, it's raining. Okay, so April 20th through the 24th, and then April 27th through the May 1st, you have this event coming up. Now, I understand it's, for the most part, free to attend, to watch as a spectator sport and see some beautiful horses and some very talented people. But then there's a family day, fun activities. Tell us about that.
So the horse show runs Wednesday through Sunday for the next 2 weeks, and then again in May and throughout the summer season. The horse show is free to the public, free parking Wednesday through Saturday. There's great sport, there's great riders, and you really can get right up to the ring and be up close and personal with the riders and the horses. On Sunday, we offer family day activities such as face painting for the kids, pony rides. All of that is actually included in the parking charge, which is $10 a car on Sunday, including the $25,000 Grand Prix, which is the biggest sporting event, which goes off at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. Now, do people bring lawn chairs, blankets, a cooler, or is there food here?
There is food here, but people have brought blankets, chairs, everything you mentioned. There's also grandstand seating here. There's a great view around the ring. It's really a nice place in the country, and it's a great place for families to come and see the horses, ride the ponies, and enjoy a really great day around the horses.
Well, this sounds very exciting. So if you're interested in horses, or just to want to see some very gorgeous horses because they're very well taken care of, and some very talented people who jump over these amazing obstacle courses, April 20th and through May 1st, but definitely go onto the website, which is huntersfarm.us, and it'll give you all the details for the event. Or go to
PrincetonShowJumping.com, all one word, PrincetonShowJumping.com.